What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Impel Fort Podcast. I'm your host, Leon, and I have a couple of my people with me. Of course, my co-host, Renee.
Hello.
My man, the modified gentleman, Larry.
Yes.
And my man, KP, has joined us.
Back again.
Back again.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I love that.
Hey, how was y'all week? We ain't gonna talk about what you did, Renee. What we talked about in the background, but how was your week? You can skip that part.
After that part, I mean, everything else is good. You know, I had a great Saturday. Ran some errands. Did some work. It's good.
Get
The
some
casting is off. I'm mobile.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so
That's
it
what's
was
up.
good.
Normal weekend, huh?
Yeah.
How about you, Larry?
My weekend was pretty chill. Took my oldest son driving. I let him drive from North Carolina down to South Carolina.
Oh, you
Oh.
drove that far?
Yeah, he drove about 3 hours. So we're working on him getting his license. He's got his permit now, so we got to get driving time in.
Right.
Oh yeah.
We drove down to South Carolina to go see my family. So I let him drive. He did pretty good. No issues.
You didn't hit the brake with your foot.
Huh?
That emergency brake with your foot. You didn't do that in the car.
Nah. We drive a lot actually, but this was like his longest time driving.
Mm.
Driving between states. He did pretty good. No issues. So doing all right.
That's
Yeah.
what's up.
Yeah.
How about you, KP?
No, just a relaxing weekend, man. Watching the games, hanging out with some friends, drinking some good bourbon, and
Yes, sir.
just enjoying the March Madness.
Right.
Oh
It's
yeah.
about like me. Yeah. I ain't
It's
doing
crazy.
nothing. Watching March Madness. That's
How
it.
how was your weekend, Leon? How's your health? How's everything going?
I'm going good. I'm feeling a little better.
Yeah.
As can be. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm doing good. Still trying to get over a couple things, but I'm all right.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to keep KP got my blood pressure up. So
Oh, did he? You
Nah,
cut his
really.
hair today? He looking fresh.
a couple
Don't
days
put that
ago.
on me.
Hey, KP said you heard about what you think about the what you say what topic was it about Trump? It was something you
God.
asked me. He said
Yeah. I can remember the fight I had in third grade, but trying to remember what I ate yesterday is you're gonna have to do a little bit more than that.
and so anyway, I told him it was probably
If-
something. I
if it
wasn't
was
sure what
what?
he was talking about.
Mhm.
And I said, well, I'm not. He said, man, I got the. He said, you and my homeboy. I don't know if his homeboy is cousin or something.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Now it's coming to me. Now
What was it?
the long short of the story is me trying to wrap my head around you're thinking politically and socially that your friends are on the same page as you, and it's not that they don't care, it's just that the way they move in their lives doesn't reflect on who's in the office or what's going on. They just continue to go throughout their lives. I had to learn that because I'm coming off so fiery, like, hey man, you watching this, you seeing this, you seeing that. And it's my brother-in-law was a reality. And then when I talked to Leon, it was more of a reality. These guys are successful in what they do. But when I bring up the conversation, I'm thinking they're going to have just as much fire about it as me. And they're like, oh, okay. All right. Well, whatever. Right. And so I had to realize it gave me an awakening that everyone is not paying attention politically to the things, and maybe some social stuff they know about, but politically they care less, or whatever surface. And so I had to realize that not everybody cares about what's going on politically, and it kind of it just kind of gave me another perspective, and that some people don't want to hear that all the time, and so it just kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And so that's what I was
basically saying we need to pay more attention. But
I did not say that.
But
I would
if
agree with that with Leon, for instance, but he's always busy, and that's one of the things. Like we're in a group chat, right? And so Larry and I will be fired up on a subject, and we'll have dialogue.
Sound like you guys are my
we'll
tribe.
have a whole Discord in our group chat. Leon will pop in and he'll be like, "Wow."
Exactly. That's my point.
No, what did I tell you though? I said when you brought up, I forgot what subject it was you brought up, And I said, I'm not sure. I said, it may be in the group chat. I said, I know we be putting a lot of stuff in the group chat, and Larry and Renee be going at it, and I can't see everything sometimes.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
whatever you was talking about, it was in the group chat. I said,
it was?
Yeah, you remember? I told you that. I said, yeah.
I know you're gonna have to keep talking. It's gonna come to me.
I'm pretty sure because me, Larry, and I, we stay up on it. We like, boom.
Yeah.
Did you see this? Boom. Did you see that? I can't believe that.
So you know what? I know what I got to do. I got to fire my friends and find me a new tribe.
Hey, we got you, dog.
We got you. We're your tribe.
You're talking to the wrong one. Leon don't care about you.
But Leon.
No.
Leon gave us the disclaimer years, like a while ago.
I gave it to him too. I gave it to him. You know
what? I ain't really too much into it.
But it's not, and it's not even now that I'm not so much into it. I'm kind of into it, but I'm not. What I tell you, KP, I don't deal with it good mentally. I don't deal.
And some people, for some people, it's like now. I talked to another good friend of mine today, two different friends, and one was on fire like I was, and then the other one was like, "Man, I checked out. I don't know what's going on. I don't. It's for my mental clarity. I can't deal with. It's too much going on." I say, actually, that's what they want you to do. They want you to be disconnected so that they can do the things in the background. And so, but it's not like we're out there protesting and doing all that. So we're kind of still sitting back watching the city burn while we sit on the roof and drink our water.
I mean, it depends on what part you feel that you're doing your part. You don't necessarily have to be boots on the ground. There's other ways in which you can express your, dislike for something. We've talked about it many times on, in the chat, even with me, my Target ban and my Amazon ban, and I'm being more intentional with my shopping, right? So I'm shopping at places that I know that gives to my local neighborhood, i.e. Food Lion, right? Wegmans. The last conversation, I told them that I went to Wegmans. Previously, that wasn't the store for me. It's a lot going on. But I know that they, not only give back to the community, but they welcome, all inclusive, for everyone, right? Yeah. Costco. Correct. Having more. So those are ways that I feel like I'm contributing to, what I believe in as far as my integrity and my morals.
Yeah.
Remember what it was, KP. It was the names being removed off the memorials. I think
that's what it was. It was the names being removed out from the Arlington Cemetery. And it's funny, I engaged because Sunday I had time. So I have a friend that's non-melanated that, well, I'll say a friend, more of an associate. Because I felt like I had time on Sunday, I just went out, I just started texting. And because I know I remember things. And so my text to him was, I know like 5 years ago, he said like Jackie Robinson was one of his son's heroes. And so, and I remembered him saying that, and Jackie Robinson was scrubbed from his military service. And so I just basically texted him. I said, I'm paraphrasing here, but hey, I know in the Ramsey household that you guys were probably in an uproar when you learned that Jackie Robinson was scrubbed from the list from the military sites or the federal sites with regards to the Arlington Cemetery and his service. And I said, I knew you guys had to be up in arms about that. Obviously, he said his text was, well, is it erased or is he back on? Of course, they put it back. They put it back on the website, but his thing was, well, it was, but it's not. And so, and I knew that he would respond that way because, and I said, my next thing to him was, and God, this is egregious the way I said this. I hope I can say this, but I said, so when your uncle decided that he was going to try to molest your cousin, but your aunt stepped in and foiled the attack. I said, does that make your uncle not a racist or a rapist? You know what I mean? Yeah. And he had something to say. Basically, what I was saying was, it's the action, the fact that they tried to do it and they got their hands, they got caught, right? And they decided to but that was because Charles Rogers and who received one of the Medal of Honor for his combat, and Jackie Robinson have advocacy. What about the hundreds of blacks, black and brown, and women whose were wiped away? I say that's what I'm concerned about, because they don't have advocacy. And so their second and third generation family members are not going to know anything about them, because if it's not mentioned in this generation, the second and third generation will never know, because when they go to the Arlington, that piece won't be there, that they were instrumental in this, they were instrumental in that. And I said, Jackie Robinson and Charles Wright, they have advocacy. People was advocating for that. And so that's why my concern is the other blacks that were taken away that nobody's saying anything about. Mm-hmm. And so that was my concern with it.
No, that's legit though. That's legit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, still fighting for a lot of that same stuff. Yeah.
I think, and I know we have topics, but I think about this, right? After 4 years, however this long this man is in office, the new president that comes in, how long is it going to take for them to redo all the things that was once removed?
Yeah.
Renee, that's the scary part, because you can tear down a building in five minutes, but it takes you 6 months to construct a building, right? So it's easier to tear things down than to rebuild them. And so that's the scary part. So everything that he's tearing down is going to take probably a generation to rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're going to have bipartisan agreement. Hey, let's go ahead and put this back into the syllabus of the military training. Let's put this back. I'm afraid that it's so easy to tear it down, but it's going to be hard to build it back up.
Yeah. I mean, it took us generations to get this far. We're talking about policies, laws, regulations. You're talking about all kinds of stuff. Everything that pretty much the civil rights movements was trying to establish to put in place, as far as establishing some type of foundational safety policies and regulations for us and going forward. A lot of that stuff is trying to be redone, and that's the tough part.
That's the tough part.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid, Renee, that it's going to take a body of work, collective of all people of all backgrounds to actually build this thing back up. But there's a portion of us in our tribe that say, hey, we don't care. You guys can take it all away. You can take it all out. You can take it up, because you can't take away our spirit. We know. The problem is carrying within our spirit when we fail to tell the generation under us, hey, this is what was taken. This person was instrumental in it. If we do not do that, then they won't know. So there's a generation missed. And then by the second and third generation, they won't even know anything about it. Mm-hmm. So there is a part of me that's on both sides. I'm kind of like, I don't care that you're taking it away. I don't care that that you're scrubbing it from websites, because that was y'all's anyway. It was never ours, And so, I started looking at it that way. That was to make you feel good. We know about these things already. Unfortunately, I say that, but then it wasn't until the movie Hidden Figures came out that we actually learned about Katherine Johnson and her being instrumental in the space shuttle program. And then it wasn't until the 6 AAA movie came out through Tyler Perry that we learned about this regiment of all Black females that was able to do a job that the counterpart could not do. Right.
That's all part of the representation.
And so we don't know these things because we weren't told these things or taught these things. So that's what I'm afraid of when you take the stance, like, get rid of it all. We don't care, because we know who we are. But then again, I know that you guys, maybe like me, I was today's years old when I learned about the 6 AAA, right? And or the females that were instrumental in the shuttle program.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes into play, where I guess people who have that history and know the history,
we would have to be responsible for our own history and ensuring that it's passed down from centuries to keep it going.
Yeah. Right. This is the dangerous part of, if you take it back to desegregation. Now we're all integrated, but yet we still don't control that information that's a part of that integration. No. That's why they can get rid of specific programs and specific things that we supposedly are a part of, but we have no control of. We don't have the power to control it. So they could just easily be like, oh yeah, take those books out. Take those books out that talk about slavery, because we want a certain kids to not feel guilty for that. And we don't want a certain kid to learn what actually happened.
Well, right. And Larry, you know, that's the part, man. It's like, whereas this kid may feel offended, what about the kid that had to live it? You know, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's their fragility. Robin DiAngelo, she wrote this book, you know, White Fragility, and I attribute to what's going on. And I watch a lot of panels on CNN, and I watch one of these guys be like, "Well, I'm offended." Like maybe somebody of African descent is discussing something, and they're like, "Well, I'm offended," and I'm looking like the fragility is really they're really the snowflakes. They can't take. Have you ever tried to engage someone who is a Trump supporter, and as soon as you skirt around the race issues, like, oh, there it is, everything's race. They're very fragile. And some people don't want you to take the mirror and hold it up to them because they don't like what they see in it as well. So
we're talking about something along those lines. Last week that there was a Klan rally that was being held out in the open. I can't remember what that was, Idaho, Ohio.
I think it was Ohio.
Yeah, it was a
predominantly black. And they took arms. They again, one of our topics.
Yeah,
they took arms, and they were like, not here, not today. And that's kind of what we in our topic of, is it time to take arms? Well, if you saw that news piece, the thing that troubled me was when the reporter was talking to the individuals that had that Pooh Shiesty mask on with the arms patrolling, they asked them, it was like, well, why do you guys have masks? And no one ever asked the Klan, well, why do you guys have masks? And I found that very troubling. It's like they're looking at these people who are actually trying to defend. There is no hate. There is no ideology. It's just we're protecting our kids and we're protecting our neighborhood. That's it. It's from a form of protection, as one of our topics of the Black Panthers. And then they get questioned, well, why y'all have masks on?
Right.
You know, it just...
So I want to go back to when we were, discussing erasing our history and, books and dismantling. How do you feel about the dismantle of the Department of Education and giving it up to the states and how they, should handle it? But they want the states to get rid of DEI or anything pertaining to, African-American history. They're not receiving funding. If it doesn't, if any of their, I guess syllabus or, education layout doesn't, specific, if it states specific wording and it doesn't meet the criteria of the federal government, then they won't receive funding. So
that's crazy.
Right. That's a twofold. So back, that last part they made is Republicans are always talking about smaller government, less government, but yet you want government in the education. They talk with a double tongue. So that's and then the other part of it is, as I understand it, basically it was watching him do that photo op of signing the executive order beginning to dismantle the Department of Education. As I understand it, he doesn't have the authority to do that because that's congressional. So, but what he can do is what he does. He's a chaos agent. That's what he does. Right. He just wants to create the chaos and get you focusing over here while he's doing a sleight of hand magician trick over here. Because there's nothing he can really do other than, let's just say, because he can control the federal dollars in the federal government that may be allocated to Title I schools, which is the free lunch programs, and maybe your disabled kids, the handicapped kids, making sure that they're treated fair and balanced and things like that. That potentially can go away and that can be harmed. The other thing that can be harmed is getting rid of it altogether. No, it would need an act of Congress. But one of the parts that he can, because in the federal government, is student loans. Right now, your student loans may be serviced by the federal government, which is probably at a 4% rate. Well, basically, what Elon Musk and Trump are trying to do is when you talk to a lot of your other friends, they always talk about privatizing things because they have bought into this capitalistic mindset. So basically what's going to happen is they're trying to dismantle that part so that Trump and his friends, the millionaire banker, that they can take, instead of the government servicing your student loan at that low rate, it's going to go to a private. It's going to go to a private bank, which is one of his friends that donated to him. So instead of you paying that 4%, you're going to pay anywhere from between 18 and 31%. Right. And I'm just quoting those numbers. That's not completely accurate, but it's not going to be less than 18%. I can assure you that. And so you're going to find where your monthly payment goes from $500 a month to about $950 in some cases. And so that's a real possibility that can happen. It can take the servicing of the student loans away from the federal government to be serviced by private banks. That can definitely.
Well, what's happening is he's taken away some of the repayment plans that a lot of people were on, like the affordable payment plans that Biden had set out. I think they were income driven, right?
He did roll that back. How egregious is that?
If you made under 20,000, you didn't have to pay, right? If you made over 20,000, the goal was make it affordable. So some people who went to school to be a doctor, straight out of college, you're not making the amount of money to pay these loans back, but you're making some money. So it was very income driven. Some people were paying $200. I'm a big fan of Reddit. I'm on it all the time throughout the day. And I've seen people, and Reddit people tell the truth. You're not going to see a lot of people on Reddit lying because, it's full transparency on that app. Like they possibly too much. But this one guy came on there. He was like, I don't know how I'm going to live. I was able to afford $600 in student loans. It just jumped up to $1,900 because they removed the save plan.
Doesn't a lot of their funding come from student loans? The government, a lot of the government funding, it comes from student loans, don't it?
Most of it, like the loans in which they get,
they're serviced by
one.
Some of them are serviced by federally funded places, like what I have, Mahala, right? Then you have like Aid Advantage. I think they might be private.
They went out of business.
Net Aid Advantage went out of business, and Nelnet, I think, or Nelnet or something like that took advantage, or it's either vice versa. But I know
but they serve it right. You're in there. You're right. They service the loans, but under the government guidelines.
Right. Mohala is definitely federal, and that's why they have so many issues with CFPB. And they actually were they stopped them, I believe, last year from even getting any new loans. Mohala can't get any new loans because they handled them so poorly throughout COVID and after COVID when putting them on the plans. But because they've taken away these options and they put a hold on it, a lot of these people that were on those reduced plans that were affordable, well, not even affordable, but they were making it because, that is what the plan said, right? Mm-hmm. It's been taken away. And now it's back to what the payment would be if they weren't on that plan. Right. And people are stressing out. People are selling. This one lady she said she's selling her house. She can't afford it. She can't afford her payment, her school loans, plus, regular maintenance, because it's like 3 times the amount than what she was paying. Because they were taking it into consideration, your bills you provide a workout packet and you provide it to them, and they say, based on your income, your expenses, this is what you can afford. Plus it's left with a balance. It's almost like buying a house, right? They don't want you to go 30% over what you didn't get a payment 30%, more than 30% of your income. So they were looking at that, and they were leaving room for people to have emergencies and everything. And now, because it's been at a stop and it's been taken away, it jumped back up to what the system would normally calculate them at.
See, for me, this is where, in the bigger picture of things, it's the war of classism. And that's starting to affect everybody. Right. I mean, as far as Black people, we've always been between classism and racism. Mm-hmm. But everybody now is starting to get the effects of classism, and it's on steroids, and that's what's going to really, really do a lot of damage in the next 4 years, like a lot of damage, because you thought COVID was going to do a lot of damage when everybody was forced to stay home and adapt. But now, when things are just financially out of reach, it's going to be so much more worse,
Larry, you are so right about that, man. It's I often say, whenever you meet someone that's non-melanated, the first thing they ask you, and this happens, is this lived experience for me. They always say, "What do you do?" Right? They always say, "Hey, what do you do?" You know, right? Versus like us, I've never, if meeting Renee or meeting you, Larry, and we're hanging out somewhere, you're never going to ask, "Hey, man, what do you do?" They do that. They do that because they injecting classism. Because I always say first classism, then racism. Because one thing about them, they will classism their own right out of the picture. And so if they meet someone that's more like them and they say, well, you know, I work at a tire shop and I think they're gonna treat them just like they work at the tire shop. You have no value to me, right? Versus the reason why they'll see they see us and they're asking questions, what do you do? And I'm often, then people always say, man, KP, why you being an asshole? I always say, man, I'm a janitor. And then they'd be like, you're a well-dressed janitor, right? There you go. I'm like, no, because I know that you're trying to classify me right now. You're trying to do classism, and I'm just going to interrupt your channel.
Yeah, and never let them know your next move.
Right. And what I do is then they sit there and watch me. And I watch them do it all the time. They'll just sit there and watch me. And they'll be like, and you can tell it's still brewing because it'll be a day later, a few hours later, like, janitor my ass. How you know about that? So... but I know they're just trying to, it's class, like you said, Larry, classism first and then racism.
Yeah. Definitely elitist. So because of these issues with the Department of Education and many other issues that's going on with the federal government is causing, what do our young people in college and everything, they do best? They protest. Right? And so we've been reading about some of the protests, of course, against Elon, right? Some of the protests against, the war on, on the Palestinians and Gaza. Now, they're discussing the, Department of Education situation. Because remember, FAFSA is gone now. It's on hold. You can't get any money. Some people are stuck. Right? What can they do? So now, our federal government is deeming peaceful protest as, illegal terrorism.
They're defining protest as illegal, as constituted how they see it, mainly the Trump organization. And that's scary. That's why we need to be careful about getting out in the streets, because right now it's not us. Right. We're not out there protesting. It's them. And I said, they're not mad. Like a friend of mine asked me, he's like, KP, is it working? I said, nah. I said, the Karens, they hadn't got mad enough yet. And I said, he was like, well, when would you know they mad enough? I said, when they get mad enough, we'll join. I said, because they're going to shoot us, because that's all Trump been waiting for, right? Because in his first presidency, first term, he was asking the judge, they say, can we just shoot him? And he was like, no, because he had people that upheld the law. And now he has a bunch of sycophants who is going to carry that order out. And so right now I say the non-melanated people, they're not mad enough. And how will we know they're mad enough? When I start to see them roll up to each other and they start fighting in the state houses and they throwing bowls, now y'all mad enough. That's when we'll actually see it. Right now, they're just protesting, and the opposition, they was like, okay, well, they're out there. So what? Because you can see a lot of protests that are happening and they're big crowds. But until I see some furniture moving in like they do in the parliament, until I see them on the floor fighting physically, then I'll say, okay, they're mad enough now. But right now, the Trump, I think
they're mad, but definitely not mad enough.
What has actually passed, though? I think I asked that in the last one. Like these things that he's writing off or trying not to do. I see a lot of them being reversed. But what has exactly passed that he's?
I think some of the federal firings have passed, because remember, it was to bring the probationary people back, right? And within some agencies, it didn't say all. It didn't say bring all the people back, right?
Right.
So that means they won half the battle, but not the full war.
Right. I know me and KP was talking. He always called me a Trump supporter.
I do too, KP. Don't worry.
Hey, KP, you ain't really call me a Trump supporter. No, you're not alone.
You didn't tell him I call you that?
I can't remember. Probably not. But we was talking the other day, and we was talking about is Trump. Was Trump a racist, or the people surrounding him?
Well, yeah, because
about what he's doing.
A few months ago, that I brought it up to Leon. A few months ago, we talked about is Trump racist, and Leon was like, "Well, he was like, I don't think Trump is racist." And you know me, I'm react. Wait, what? How you don't see this? Much to his credit, Leon said, "I don't think." He said, "I don't think Trump like nobody." You know, if you can't service him, then he'll cast you out, and it doesn't matter. And I had to sit with that, and like Leon's actually correct. I think I was looking at it through a narrow lens of just through the emotions of seeing the racist
some of the racist behavior.
Some of the racist behavior, right?
Behavior.
Mm-hmm. He dog whistles, which is now audible to the human ear. Now we hear it, and so we clearly see the racism. Of course, I can go through a whole litany of things proving that he's been racist. I can go through it, but Leon thing was, man. So when I asked him that months ago, he was like, "Well, I don't think he's racist. I think he don't like anybody." Fast forward to our last conversation, he was like, "Yeah, he probably racist, but he don't like nobody. He's still in that thing, and both can be true.
Both can be true at the same time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you know,
I always say he's an opportunist. Always,
Larry.
That too.
If we got a dollar sign to it, sign him up.
Yeah. They're putting it out in front of him, and he's going along with it.
So speaking of racism in our world, we kind of touched on Ohio a little bit, right?
Renee, you are frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Yeah, you're in the freezer box.
Yeah,
I don't see that.
Your facial expression don't go with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let me see. Can I don't want to do nothing. Can you go out and come back in, Renee?
Frozen. Yeah,
you're frozen.
Yeah, go out and come back in.
Well, just to while she's waiting to come in, I think what she was gonna bring to the table, what was it about racism?
Yeah, I think so,
man. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something, and we definitely see it. I mean, of course, if you're looking for it, you'll see anything. But some of this stuff is just blatant. It's just it's blatant. Yeah. But also, I also see Leon's point too, where you'll see him, like Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions was one of his first people that was, very supportive, and Trump cast him out.
Oh yeah.
He did it to everybody that's close to him. He ends up getting rid of them, and
Mike Pence. Mike Pence.
Good example.
His first VP gone.
Yeah, gone. Yeah, never to be seen again. Right?
I'm telling you. He want no more of that.
And any other them black Republicans that was speaking up with Trump for Trump, ain't none of them in this cabinet, are they?
No, the only one that's in this cabinet, but you don't know him, and no one really knows him mainstream, is this guy Scott Turner, who is over what, you guys? Drum roll. HUD. Whenever they're gonna fill a cabinet position, a black person, they're gonna always put him over HUD. I mean, he had a brain surgeon, for God's sake, Ben Carson over HUD, simply because of the word HUD. It was like, well, he's a brain surgeon, so he should understand urban stuff, right? Which it was kind of a disaster. But this Scott Turner guy, you're not going to know him as a household name, but he is over. He appointed him to be over HUD. Other than that, the Byron Donalds, the Wesley, none of those guys got any.
No, I think Byron Donalds is what? He's like an ambassador or something.
Yeah, some made up thing with no power, no regular. But he's
the one guy in Georgia, the one who was running and lost. What he was? Isn't he like the ambassador to Jamaica?
Not Herschel Walker.
Yeah, you're talking about Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker, yes. Didn't they make him the ambassador of like Jamaica of the?
I would think that I thought it would maybe Byron Donalds because he's first generation African American, so his parents are from Jamaica. So it might have been him. I don't know. I thought it would make. Well, you know what? I'm trying to make sense of the Trump administration, and I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, because the majority of people in his cabinet are not even qualified.
He's Herschel Walker picked as Bahamas ambassador.
Oh yeah, to the Bahamas. Okay, which he has nothing. It's just Bahamas. You guys been? I have a friend in the Bahamas right now as we speak, and I had another friend that came back, and they were like, "Man, there's a lot of black people." I said, "No, it's all black."
Right.
Yeah, and you don't realize that those Caribbean islands are as black is because of the, definitely due to the Atlantic human trafficking, and because that's where we were dropped off first in those Caribbean islands, Grenada, Lesser Antilles, all those areas.
Haiti,
Fun fact.
Haiti, DR, all of them. That's why they're black.
Yeah. Fun fact, due to political disputes, the United States has not confirmed an ambassador to the Bahamas since November 2011. And Herschel, who we haven't heard from, or
Well, they went and found something black. It's amazing. The theme here, they find something that's black. Like, look, so let's give them the black jobs, right? And that's and it's funny that they went and dug that up.
Oh yeah, because it's a way to categorize something real quick. Something ain't work right. It's because the DEI, the blacks, something didn't work right.
Speaking of the blacks, what I wanted to get my question, we talked about Ohio and everybody mounting up and doing all the things. I believe, I don't know if it was Larry, I believe you put it in the group chat where it was a discussion of the guy who asked one of his students about the Black Panthers. And stated that to him, the Black Panthers were similar to the KKK.
Yeah, black teacher was talking to a white student.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the white student was the black teacher had brought up like a presentation for the Black Panthers. And then he was kind of quizzing the class on what the presentation was. But one of the white students said that he was told by, I can't believe, somebody in his family, like maybe his father or uncle or somebody like that, that the Black Panthers were similar to the KKK. And so the teacher was like, how did you come to that conclusion? The white teacher, the white student was trying to tell him that he was told that ever since like he was young, like that's how the Black Panthers are. They're like the antithesis or the opposite of the Klan. Mm-hmm. So, but this is how American history is. I always say there's two types of American history. There's white American history, and then there's just everybody else, Mm-hmm. And the white American history always sets it up like they're the heroes,
Yeah.
We're trying to set
it's so funny. In that discussion, he had the young man read both mission statements. The mission statements of the Black Panther, the mission statements of the Klan, which are two totally different. And that also what helped change his mind to get a better understanding that they were two totally different organizations.
Yeah.
I was looking for that in the chat, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Because I wanted to know where y'all got that from.
Right. I didn't see that. I guess that was something going around. I didn't see that, but I do know.
That's probably like last week, maybe.
Yeah. I do know that I made sure to teach my son about it because I've had an experience with me not knowing my own history, but they knew my history. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of like that kid that y'all talking about, just in black skin. The reason why I'm like I am now is because there was a period in time in my life where there was no education on us or making me aware of things. So when I would hear it, I would hear from white coworkers. And I heard about the Black Panther Party. I heard about Martin Luther King. They used to, I would hear stuff like Happy James Earl Ray Day. And I was like, yeah, hey, we got Happy James Earl Ray Day. And then finally one of my friends like, you know who he is? I said, no. He said, he the one that shot Martin Luther King. And so it put me on a quest to make sure that this does not happen to my son. So because I know that he will get taught his history in not the most in the right way. And so I definitely made sure I talked to my son about when they were formed, who, and I would ask him questions like, who was Bobby Seale and Fred Hampton, and I would, I would walk him through those things and tell him all the points and plans that they were about and what they do, and how it's still relevant today with the WIC program that 100%. The federal government hijacked it from them, which Women, Infant, and Child, and but not to get into a Black Panther history story, but we know this, right? Yeah. So this goes back to, if we sit back and let them scrub our history, we know this, but the little white kids don't. And there's a potential that our kids may not, right? Yeah. So they'll grow up hearing something and they're going to, they can categorize it as negative, when really there was nothing negative about the Black Panther Party. It was just that, they were going to protect their neighborhood.
Seemed like in that case, whoever was teaching them that, did the kid say who? I guess his parents probably told him.
Yeah,
it was his parents.
And probably based on his visions, they're looking at two different groups, right? One with the white the hood on and a cape, and then you have Black people and dressed in all black with, probably carrying the same type of weapon, or whatever, and just not understanding that, one, there was many different facets under the Black Panther movement, right? You talk about the different coalitions that they had, whether it was peaceful, whether they violent or whatever they wanted to do. And I think that's what helped persuade, or not necessarily persuade, but provide some thought to the white kid who, really didn't understand. So,
And what white America, right? I'm sorry.
Now, I think one of the great things that we have now that we didn't have when we were growing up, and I'm just saying this because I'm sure we're all within the same age group, maybe, whatever. The internet is important. It's a powerful tool. So we can talk about it, how much we hate, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. It is always going to be a few people on there that's going to continuously talk about our history.
Right. Yeah. And we have to. We need that. Yeah.
It's always going to be continuous, whether it's, in the month of February, whether it's Women's Month or whatever, Juneteenth, August, whatever. One thing that we have that these young people don't have that we didn't is we had to, learn by books and, VHS tapes and whatever the school brought us or whatever our parents wanted us to know. Because I'm sure it was only, what they remembered or what they recalled, right? Yeah. Now they have the internet. It's like a lot of things are at their fingertips.
It's important.
Right things.
I think it changes every so often. What the verbiage changes, because a couple of years ago we were calling it CRT, critical race theory. And it kind of like that came and went. But that's because they were still trying to dismantle that. That's why we're taking Black history books out of schools and out of libraries. Like, it's still so super important. Like, we're still under attack,
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
they because they have the machine, and the machine is fueled by hate. And it's the same things that they did from the 50s and the 60s. When you look at Martin Luther King, you look at his approval rating with white America, of course, it was like in the teens, right? And even with Black America, it's like 30%. So he wasn't very liked because of the machine, the hate machine. The machines told Black American and white American that he was a communist. Then they said he was a socialist. I was like, how can you be both, right? And so when people fail to think for themselves, they will believe the narrative, right? Oh
yeah, every time.
And so they learned and started perfecting it then. And then as Reagan came into office and his chief strategist, I think it was Lee Atwater, and he talked about how you can't say, he said, we can't no longer say nigga, you gotta say, you can't say this, you gotta say bus, and you gotta say this. Yeah. And so they learned that if we can just hijack their words or hijack these things, that we can demonize them. And so you guys just said something really good, because at first it was CRT. And CRT is just simply something that is, listen, I told a white person one time, he was like, well, I don't want my kid learning CRT. I said, listen, if you got a kid learning critical race theory, congratulations, you got a kid in law school. I said, because that's where it's taught. And I said, also, when you really look at CRT, what it is, it takes the onus off of, let's say, the white community and put it on the system. That's what it's designed to do. It's taught in law school as they apply to law. They said that the system has racial intent, racial undertones, not a person. And I say, so you should be happy, but they learn to take these words and demonize them, like they did woke, like they're doing Black Lives Matter, BLM,
like they do DEI.
Now it's DEI and it's all black. That's what that means, right? And so they're very good at that. I'm just tired of us keep falling for the banana in the tailpipe
every time
on these issues. I mean, we know what they're doing. It's the others, the sexy reds, the
boy, you took the words right out my mouth. No,
our young generation of men and women between the ages of 19 and 31, they don't know. They don't know that they're being.
There are a plethora of them that do. And I appreciate them still fighting the good fight, right? They learned about it. They're trying to preach it now. The sexy reds and all of that.
I was using that in the sense of I watched that generation say the most asinine things about politics, and I'm like, you know what? Just stop talking.
Now we're in this circle. We keep going in this circle, I'm
about to bring it back.
No. I'm talking about just as blacks as a whole, and racism, and from years and years and years, and we're here now. And have we really gotten somewhere?
In terms of what? You have to define that.
As far as, I guess what Larry said, what'd you say earlier?
What's that?
We don't have control of anything.
Right.
What do we do?
We have not. No, we don't have control of major corporations or even business entities. No. But do you think that 4 black people can get on a, let's just say it wouldn't be a podcast, but we're now doing a public speaking in the 1950s and the 60s. You think the 4 of us will be able to do this week in and week out without one of us end up in one of us in a tree?
No. I understand that. I'm talking about, but what do we do now? Because this is like,
I mean, excuse me. It definitely depends, right? Back then, we didn't have, black millionaires and billionaires. Right.
We
have that. That's, or black wealthy people, right? Because now it's different. You could be back in the day, we would say you had, 500,000, you was rich, right? Now the word is wealthy. You're wealthy.
Yeah. I think that Leon
I know one time, Larry, you said it a couple of times. I might have said it. I don't know. It's like we'll get so far, but something always changes.
It does.
You can't get
every 4 years. It changes.
For us, man, like the main 2 battles we're fighting is between racism and classism, and within each other. We fight classism within each other. Like we have half of us are stunting on the other half.
Right?
And how do we get out of that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then once we get out of that, now we got to go fight the external battles, which is racism. How do we fight that? Well, we got to get on the same pages. And so there is a part that is just designed to keep us divided, and that's where we see it, and we have to somehow mend that fence to where we can get on the same pages. But I think, and I don't want this to happen, but it's something catastrophic has to happen for us to get on the same page, for us to bring us together. I mean, that happened when you look back at George Floyd's incident. So many people came together because we were tired, we were exhausted of seeing this happen, of seeing police brutality and all types of that nature, incidents of that nature, constantly happening with no repercussions. So we all got together on that, but we lost the momentum, and that kind of started dying out. I mean, there are still lots of people fighting a good fight, of course,
right?
But it has to be something catastrophic that says, you know what, we're past our breaking point. Like we really got to come together, come up with a plan, because I always talk about we're here, but we don't have a purpose of what we're doing. We don't have a plan. We're just surviving. Yeah, we surviving to tomorrow, but we're not thriving. So we got to come up with something to put in place for that.
And Larry, sadly, you said it best, is we would have to do it collectively.
Yeah.
And because of we have the mentality of stunting on this person, or we don't want this person to be the spokesperson because of X, Y, Z, we have this this governance conversation that we need to have within the Black community. Like, okay, what's our 10-point plan? How are we going to execute, and what is our measure of success? That has not happened, or it has not happened collectively. I think that some may, but I think it gets to a point to where we get tired, or we get Renee, you said something just a few seconds ago about it happens every 12 years. I don't know where you get that number from, but you are absolutely. Oh, I thought you said 12. Oh, you're talking in terms of elections. I was thinking in terms of when we first from 1865 to
that too. Yes.
Right. Doing it, there's 11-year period where there was Reconstruction. And then they realized, like, oh, look at all the gains these Blacks have amassed in 11 years. And so then here comes, the other president rolled back all those gains. And then something else will happen. Then we get all these Blacks. Now they're able to vote. And so now we get them all elected into these state houses and things like that. And a couple of years go by, they pull the rug from up under our feet with that. Along with while all this is happening, prosperous towns and communities thriving, only to be burned and decimated. And so they're still doing these same things. They're just doing it in a different way. And I think as a Black community, we'll have so many years of prosperity, and then we go into these dark ages where we're going now for at least the next 4 years. I would say 2 years, because here's where we are now, guys. Trump knows that he has 2 years. He has 2 years to implement his plan on what he's going to do, whether he's going to make himself a king, where there won't be no more voting or thing. But he's moving at lightning speed because he and his cabinet knows that they're going to get wiped out during the midterms.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So in 2 years, when the midterms come up, they have pissed off enough of their folks that they're gonna vote against him. That's gonna happen. We already know that. And so then that will bring in the levers of the things that he's trying to do in the House and the Senate. So for these next 2 years, if y'all notice, he's going to be doing something every week with light speed. And so this is going to be the dark period that we're going to have to get through until we can get to the 2 year mark, to where there can be some type of roadblocks to prevent him from getting his agenda through. But after those 4 years, I don't know what's going to happen. But we always have to enter into this period of darkness, and I think we're just tired of it.
Yeah.
And what it does is it stymies us, and now we can't mobilize, and now we can't energize. And to your point, Larry, I don't know how we're going to be able to come together collectively.
We can't. You know why? Elitism stems back to slavery. Who was able to be in the house?
Right? Yeah, we know that Leon could be in the house because of his light skin. And he would kind of tell our plan that what we're trying to work on.
Right. You were seen superior back then, right?
Exactly.
But it travels. It still travels in title, right?
Yeah.
It still travels. You you can have a person that's, trying to move forward and their boots on the ground. And it all it takes is one or two people of, of our color to say, well, he was just talking about his baby mama on a tweet 5 years ago. Then they go bring the tweet back, right? Then all the progress and the good that he's done within the community gone, right? It's just too much. We put value too much on status.
Yes.
For me, I think that there's a couple of ways. Like
moving forward,
there's been tons of plans put in place. Like
Dr.
Claude Anderson, Dr. Henry Clark. Henry Eric Clark put plans in place. Dr. Joy DeGroy, she put plans in place like to help the Black community. Matter of fact, there's tons of Black people who don't even know who those people are
because they're not. We're elitists,
right?
But you have those people, but I don't think anybody listens or tries to put the plans to action in place.
Yeah. I mean, Dr.
Dr. Claude Anderson wrote a economics book. I mean, he laid it. He laid it, but you know who did it before him? W.E.B. Du Bois.
He did too.
Exactly. A lot of those guys, they wrote they wrote the plan that should be executed by Black Americans. The problem is what Larry is there. Powernomics. There it is.
I got
the power is even DeGroy. She wrote. I mean, the material is there. The implementation is not.
Yeah,
and so that's the problem.
Look, okay,
it's a young Black girl who wrote Black Project 2025
I heard about that. Yeah.
She's not getting,
I look at it like this.
Club.
I look at it like this. It's the plan has to move in a couple different parts. All those people I named, like they have a plan for us to have Black economical structure, right? How we can structure our economics and thrive on our own if we're isolated. However, the issue is we don't have our own system in place that's biased for us. Now, when I say our own system in place, specifically, that's where we get hit at when it comes to systemic racism. We don't have law enforcement, attorneys, judges, DAs, the mayors, the senators, the governors, the congressmen. We don't have that line that has our favor at heart, but they have that line. That's why they can get laws changed. That's why they can get.
I think it can happen though.
It can happen. We just don't have it.
But here's what we got to Leon. It can happen. Right. But to what Larry just said, we don't have the police. We don't have it. No, I'm not pushing back, Larry. We have them. We do have them. Here's the problem. Just like in the modern day where they will buck break us in front of everybody, they're still buck breaking Black people in front of us to this day.
Yes.
So if you get a Black police chief to be in our agenda and helping, bring in our economics. You have some of the Black state houses that are within the states, right? Within our state, that's implementing our agenda. There's going to be a point to where they're going to be put on a whipping post because they are going to be found out like, hey, why are you guys passing all this? How are you guys all in lockstep?
You're right. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be the hard part. So now you're going to find when we try to regroup and try to bring more into the fold, they're going to be like, no, I seen what happened with Captain Charles. I seen what happened with state senator so-and-so. I seen what happened. It's like, I don't want no parts of this.
Yeah.
We have to overcome that.
We do. That's
how. And the only way you overcome that is a civil war.
You got to remember, this is going to take me back to the conversation. People loved Obama. White people loved Obama until he made one comment. When Trayvon Martin died, he said that could have been my son.
Yeah.
After he made that comment, they hated him and called, he was racist and he never said that about my son. And how dare he compare that to his family because he's a Black man. When I tell you they hated him and they already wasn't passing anything through Congress on his behalf. But when he made that comment about Trayvon Martin, he knew his son. And I got why he said it, because it was his second term.
Renee, you're so spot on, because this friend that I was telling you about that about the Jackie Robinson, it was him, and he said, "Well, I didn't like that Obama said," and I started laughing. I was like, for once, I finally had somebody in the office that looks like me who had a natural human response, because he said that from his heart. He was like, if I'd had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. In the Black community, the governance, we looked at Trayvon, looked at Obama, and said, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't look like him. And so we, from a governance structure, we felt that.
Right.
It was us being a village.
Like, how dare he?
Yeah. It was us having a connection to a village. Like, that could have been any one of us.
Right. Either one of us.
Any one of us. But, to him, to the people outside, through his ethics, his morals, and his integrity and everything out the window.
Yeah.
Right. It's honestly, and I know, this person is, he stirs up a lot and he does a lot, but a lot of people hate seeing him coming. Attorney Crump. A lot of people hate that man.
I mean, I think You know what? Renee,
there's so much controversy around him, and I get
it. So it sounds like KP. It sounds like KP about to agree with that.
Well, no, man, because here's the deal: when we have black faces in black places doing things, we shouldn't bastardize them.
Right.
But if we're gonna do it, we need to do it at the cookout. So when you guys hear me talk about the governance structure, there's one of the Africana studies, one of the pillars. And governance structure is who are black people to each other. And then the social structure is who are black people to others. Mm-hmm. And so if we're going to have this conversation about being crump, I guess this is the place to have it, because this would be considered the governance structure. This is the cookout. Yeah. So without judgment, I look at him two ways. I look at him as like what we would call an ambulance chaser, right?
100%.
I don't like that. And I also don't like that he is the face of the person that speaks for the black community. And I have a Southern drawl, right? Y'all can hear it. But his is so uneducated sounding, and he wears his pinstripe suits.
Yeah.
And he talks like backwoods Alabama, and he represents the black community because he's front facing of all social issues.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And now he's been ran down to Georgia to be, with these twins that were murdered. Now he's speaking on behalf. I don't know how y'all feel about it.
I know what you're saying, but he brings awareness. Let's be honest. He does bring awareness. Tamika Mallory does the same thing. Lee Moret, Esquire. I think he does. Okay. Well, he backed down for a little bit, but he does a great job. I mean, he could be considered an ambulance chaser too, but he can't chase as many ambulances as Attorney Crump. I think Crump is like.
But if not Crump though, who KP?
I don't know, because we have a lot of
he didn't do Al Sharpton.
We have a lot of polished lawyers, because we do have a large number of lawyers that are trained, that are black. And I wouldn't throw like a Brian Stevens in there. He does a lot with the Innocence Project. Mm-hmm. I don't think he gets into civil law like that.
Civil law is hard because there's not a lot of money.
Not a lot of money, and you're going to have a lot of scrutiny because you're going to be so Brian Stevens would be a good person, but he's in the background, right? Or even some of our lawyers have the skill to do it, but won't take it on, like who was the guy that went to school here? They had the movie, The Burial, the lawyer Gray. I can't think of it.
I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? You have a good question. We have them. I even think Jasmine Crockett has, because she does civil law. Mm-hmm. She takes on corporations, on racism and inequalities, because she said right now, because they're trying to come for her about, her being elitist because she went to a private school. And so that's the only thing they can come at her about. But she said, I was a practicing attorney before I became a congressman. And she said to me about 2 weeks ago, she said there is a case that she had been working on for years, and it looks like that, and the overseers of the Senate, of the Congress, is saying, well, you can't accept the money off this settlement because it is a conflict of interest with you being in Congress. And she said, I'm going to resign. She said, I'm going to resign and get my money. And then they'll hold a special election. I'll come back and run for my seat.
And she already got it.
She was already being straightforward, because she was like, you're not going to hold me down not to get my money, right? Mm-hmm. So I said that to say that I don't know how you view Jasmine Crockett, but she's a firecracker, a voice that we need.
I love her.
And I would love to see her in the front representing the black community with these issues that happen. But I think it needs to be a coalition. It can't fucking be all the time, man.
Right. Also, I think Jasmine, she needs backup. AOC is good. They, they're both around probably the same age. They're both fighters. They don't care, right? They will speak their mind. They will, do whatever they can for the people. But I feel like they need more support. And I don't feel like they're getting.
We got to protect Jasmine, man.
The support that is needed.
I mean, y'all see what they did to Fannie Williams, the other one out of Georgia.
She did that to herself, brother.
I know. I don't. Okay. That's a whole. Let me move to the next subject because you're gonna make me upset.
What's wrong, Renee?
I love. Let me tell you something. I love the law. If you know me, I love the law. I love Black women as pertains to law, and that just broke my heart.
Okay, Fanny was wild.
Okay, so you feel what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, again, this is governance conversation. We're at the cookout. Fanny, all we're saying is, when you're in the spotlight, like she was, you got to be dressed right. You got to be great. You got to be all your I's got to be dotted and T's be crossed, and you have to go to bed at night early so you don't get no devilment. You gotta for the moment to get the agenda through, because she had him on the ropes. Had him on the ropes, and then they dug up her bedroom action.
Everything.
And it really, what they try to do is what they always do, is attack the credibility. And how does her sleeping with the lead counsel in the case has anything to do with he actually done? He called to Georgia and asked, can you find me 11,000? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how does her credibility how does her personal life affect that? Well, it only happens to us.
Right. Right. I mean, they're going to do the same. They've been trying to pull the same thing on Attorney General Letitia James.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're out. Yeah, they're out. They did it to Marilyn Mosby. They did it to Marilyn Mosby. I watched them do it down to my mayor in New Orleans, Mayor Cantrell. They, she had a little sneaky link going on, and it's all over the news. And I'm like,
I mean, if we want to go further down, Condoleezza Rice.
Oh wow, you took it back. Yeah.
Okay.
But facts.
I mean,
I don't know if you think they set her on the side. I think
I don't think they heard her. I don't think they cared. I don't think.
Well, they don't care. No, they didn't care.
Speaking of all of this going on, racism, the neo-Nazi events in Ohio, and I'm sure there's tons in South Carolina. We just don't hear about it, and all these other things. Do you think it's time for African Americans to get some sort of firearm?
Yes.
You better.
It's been time.
Capital, yes. Yes.
Yeah. You better find a way find a way to learn your state laws in terms of whether you guys fall under castle doctrine or stand your ground doctrine. You need to know those things, because you can find yourself in a way, and you can be goaded into by them. Because I had this conversation with somebody. We were talking about arming ourselves, and they were talking about they took a concealed carry class, and they glad they did, because they learned a lot. You can't just shoot people. And I said, when you take those classes, you learn that the criminals have more rights than you do. And if I'm a racist guy and I don't like black folks, I know how to goad them into because it's about the threat level of aggression. So if I'm a white guy and I see a black guy that I want to take out, I will just say something to him that I know is going to trigger him. Right.
Yeah. And just jump the threat level.
I'm going to stay triggering him. Although I am going to be perceived as the aggressor in the moment, my words are just idle threats that can't be. And then because we're black and we're emotional, which we got to learn to do while we're arming ourselves, is not be goaded into his words. He's just talking. Anytime you were somewhere and some white guy just utter something out directly to you, just know that that is not by happenstance. He's trying to goad you in. So he say these things, you react, punch the crap out of him, he draw down, and now your family is burying you because he goaded you into doing this, right? Because now he can, because you escalated the threat level from verbal to an actual assault. And under the assault and you retreat, you can actually draw your firearm. So while we're arming ourselves, which is good, we do need to learn the state laws and provisions as it pertains to when and where to draw and use your weapon.
I tell anybody that doesn't have a history of that are felons or anything, I always tell them, look, if you can get a concealed, if you can get a firearm, go get it. You need it.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. I definitely would agree with that. Speaking of
my third
topics of firearms, racism, Black people understand our culture and our history, right? Or trying to figure out our history and who you are down the line, right? 23andMe filed bankruptcy. Right. And they are telling people who have been waiting for their DNA and their history, who provided their DNA and waiting for their history results because they're filing bankruptcy, to go in, screenshot, or delete all of your information off the website because they're filing bankruptcy. So you paid this money, right, for these results that you may not be able to get. You may not get your money back, and you got to delete all of your personal information off the website.
Yeah. Shit, I damn sure would.
I ain't never did that.
I did Ancestry.
Yeah. I'm on Ancestry too, but I'm gonna go delete mine after this, after we get off the podcast.
Right. 23andMe is basically 23andMe is not to find family members, but as I understood, 23andMe is to find out if you have a family history of XYZ, so that you can be so that you can prepare yourself.
Right.
Right. That, but a history of like results.
It could be leukemia, it could be congestive heart failure, things like that. So 23andMe actually do those points to let you know, okay, what are you at risk? Whereas Ancestry.com, which is one I done,
how's your family, right?
Is about locating family members and trying to put together a family tree and to find out where you actually come from. And so I did that with me and my son, because really I wanted to know what part of the continent of Africa where we originated from. And so that was cool for me to learn that.
Yeah, it's important too.
But I am concerned. This is my concern about the 23andMe. I don't know. I know them. They may be going bankruptcy, but we need to be on the lookout if one of these billionaire tech guys decide to buy it.
Oh yeah.
Well, but also, you know, when you subscribe to these 23andMe's and Ancestries and all of those things, you know, they're able to use that against you, like as far as the federal government, FBI, all of that.
I've seen that.
Tell me more about that.
You consent to that. It's similar to getting like global entry, right? A lot of people, they're like, oh, I got global entry, and you know, not TSA pre-check, but global entry. Right. It's different because you get an interview. TSA pre-check, you can just pay the fee and get it, right? Global entry, you use a thumbprint. They scan your fingers, your thumbs, they scan your whole hand now, right? They scan your eyes.
Really?
Yeah, you got to do an interview. Then they run you through the FBI database, right? They run you through all the databases in order for you to get approved for global entry. You stay in the FBI's database. That's why I always tell my friends, and they're like, I don't want to go on Google and I don't want my information out there. But yet you have global entry.
Oh, they got it. Oh, yeah. They got your info.
They got more than most.
And it's done at, you know, the TSA. So it's done with officers. Like, so your information is in the database. So some of those things you see on the shows and they're like, well, run it through the FBI database. Yeah.
That's a part of it. Yeah. Yeah. I saw a case.
You put yourself in there. Now, Clear is different because Clear is different. Global entry TSA, that's a federal program that you're entering into. Clear is a third party, right? Okay. Where they pay the airports to allow Clear. Like they pay a monthly fee, right? To have Clear in their airports. That's why you don't see it at all the airports. You know, they're slowly getting them is because it's a contract in the airport. Global entry TSA pre-check is federally funded. That's a federal thing.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different. So remember, with these Ancestries and 23andMe, you're all going in the same database.
Oh yeah.
It's like similar to being assaulted, right? What are they doing? They're collecting blood.
I've saw a case like that before a couple of years back when I don't know if it's an FBI case or not, but there was a murder case. There was some DNA at the scene, they recovered some DNA at the scene, ran through the database. It popped up close, not a match, but it popped up close to a person. They went and contacted that person and found out that it was that person's brother that did the murder. All because of, you know, that database.
Yeah, it's the only database that they're not supposed to use on against people when finding murders or anything is if you were a victim of assault, right? And provide your DNA and all of that, your DNA in this. They're not supposed to use that against you because that's something that you voluntarily do provided to help for a case, right?
Yeah.
So they're not supposed to use that. So there's some tips to people.
Well, that's not tips. That's depressing. That you drove me to go get a drink.
Hey, look, Renee, I was trying to. Hey, KP, they put so much in this chat, boy. It's some stuff be hard to find.
What's that? Okay.
Do you remember or can you find where they were saying what people need to do if they want to delete their information from the 23andMe?
Yeah, there's instructions on that.
Yeah, you go to
again.
That doesn't matter.
These are not entities that we own or we sit on the board of directors making decisions. How true is that? Right?
Well,
you're right.
That's true.
How valuable
did provide an update that tells them how to go in and delete. It doesn't remove it because they have it in the physical in the building, right? I'm sure it's stored somewhere.
What I'm saying is,
send me my spit back. I want
it. But I would watch. You know what? I'm gonna follow this one closely because something tells me one of these billionaires is gonna offer to buy it, or let's just say one of these venture capitalists, which are going to be.
They said it wasn't really profitable because once you get it right, you get this done. People aren't. It's not something that
that's not a repetitive model.
Because I canceled mine.
Yeah.
Right.
So. But here's the deal. Always remember these billionaire tech guys that's listening to Curtis Yarving. That's who. If you don't know anything, you want to know what Elon and what's his name? JD Vance, any of these guys. If you ever want to know what they're thinking, listen to this guy Curtis Yarving, because that's who they're. This is one of these tech bro guys who look like an incel, but they are reciting some of his things. And I will say is this: is that I'm gonna follow this closely because somebody usually said it's not profitable. Twitter wasn't profitable. The Washington Post is not profitable. Any of these things that these billionaires have bought is not profitable. But what it is the other word is power and propaganda. Right. Because if I can buy the Washington Post, I mean, who gets the paper? Print is dead, right? Everybody's online print. But Jeff Bezos bought it because
Bezos got that.
He wanted to control the narrative, right? And so Elon buys Twitter for $44 billion, and now it's worth $9 billion. He doesn't care because it's about getting the information out there to disseminate misinformation. And it worked because when the election happened, a lot of people that was on X had so much disinformation that they didn't even go and vote. So it wasn't about turning a profit. It was about making a profit on the back end that you will never see. And so when I look at this 23andMe thing and having people's information, if I'm a billionaire, what can I do with that? If I'm as cynical and I'm like, if I had people's DNA and their information, what could I do with that?
Sell it.
So I don't think it's out of the woods yet.
Definitely. We talked about stores going out of business, right? Big Lots or whatever. A lot of these businesses always been having chances for years. And I told you that Big Lots was purchased. Big Lots, all the Big Lots are now turning into Ollie's. Same concept.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
I drove past one today. It was closed. They had one of closed down the street.
Right.
But you know who was it bought by? If it was bought by venture capitalists, then that's what they do.
Now it's going to be Ollie's.
They buy it up and they put lipstick on the pig, and then they sell you the same pig.
Because I'm like,
while extracting all the resources out of it and eventually fully bankrupt.
Speaking of buyouts. So the Stellantis, I think they're a motor company. It's like a umbrella of different motor companies, right? It's like Ford, it's like Dodge, numerous companies, right? So they need to lay off people. They don't want to. Laying off people brings, negative exposure. Then you get the glass door,
negative press.
And all of the press, the exposure, all of the things. So they're offering a buyout. They're offering a early layoff buyout. And they're saying, for people who have been with the company, I believe, up to 15 years, or you can get up to
only a year.
The 15 years, you can get like 50,000, right? I'm pretty sure under 15 years, you're probably going to get the standard 1 week for every year you've been with the company, or a month, which is normally standard if layoff corporation community.
Yeah.
If you've been with the company for more than 20 years, you can get up to 75,000.
Okay.
So they're saying
it's gonna be taxed to hell.
We can offer you this in each department. Everybody, they've been notified. I'm sure it's been trickled down from management all the way down to the employees. Like, hey, you can be offered this buyout right now and leave gracefully, or they can lay you off in certain states. Us in North Carolina, right? They can just lay you off and not offer any severance. They don't have to. We're an at-will state. Everything is done in good faith to these corporations. From these corporations to employees. Kentucky, same thing, very at will. They are not required. I believe the only state that has one of the strictest laws that protects their people is California, and I believe Washington, where you got to pay them for everything, right?
Correct.
So a lot of people are, there's some people that are upset. People online are like, why are they doing this? Of course, Detroit, they've been through so many, issues, and they're just now thriving from the whole Kwame Kilpatrick situation.
Okay.
That got, bankrupt the whole, pretty much state or whatever. And I believe it's a 20 divisions across the board where they are looking at doing this buyout.
Yeah, and it says they also give them 6 months of medical benefits.
That's standard. Yeah. No dental, that. And then
Cobra.
assistants. Yeah, you get the 6 months of Cobra and probably a coach. They'll hire you a
get your LinkedIn together,
your resume and all that.
Build your LinkedIn up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you feel about that? What would you say to your son if he came on and was like, Dad, I received this piece of paper, and he'd been with the company for maybe 10, 15, 12 years?
So what is that exactly doing? They trying to lower the employee.
I think they're trying to avoid negative press and saying, I'm offering you money to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what could you do?
So some employees who've been there for a while, they're saying it's not enough.
I'm gonna take the money.
Well, I mean,
go ahead. They're not gonna raise it.
And honestly, it depends on how much you are making. You could be a $300,000 a year employee, right? You would benefit more off of the severance 1 week for every year you've been here, right? Right. If you make it 300,000, 150, 200,000, it makes sense to take a standard, but you're taking a chance. They may say, well, we offered you the 50 and you didn't take it.
Look, if there's any type of inkling of they about to let me go ahead, pay me, remember my money, and I'm out the door. I'm not gonna stay where they don't want to keep it anyway. I'm not gonna stay there.
I'm with Larry on that. I'm like, I'm gonna do the same thing. It goes back to one principle that I do carry with me, and that's make a decision before one is made for you. Because if the decision is made for you, you're not gonna like it. You're not gonna like it. So in all things, when you have an ability to make a decision, go ahead and make the decision, right? So they put it in my court to make the decision. So I'll take the money and roll because now I can live with that. Whereas if I just I don't really know, I'm just kind of like, oh, well, you're fired. Now you're depressed. Now you need that Cobra plan for your shrink. And so because you did not make a decision, therefore you don't like the decision. And that's applicable throughout life. Always make a decision before one is made for you. Because if it's made for you, you're not gonna like it.
So this will affect people in Detroit, Ohio, and Illinois. Some people are saying, it's definitely, if you look at the overall bigger picture, right? Especially in Detroit, that's the Motor Co. Right? So, and because it's a conglomerate of different, companies under this umbrella that's saying, hey, we're offering you this buyout. People are saying, one, it's not enough money. Two, where are they supposed to go? What are they supposed to do? They no longer have the benefits. They no longer have union representation anymore. They will
Renee, what's the empathy? What is the what is the reason for the layoffs? Is it
that's exactly what I'm trying to look up now. Like,
so a lot of things, like future tariffs, right? Because Detroit, Ohio, they're close to Canada.
Yep.
Let's be honest, right? A lot of their parts come from Canada, China, Mexico. A lot of those parts for cars. Right. So, that can play a major part in that decision, because again, it's going to be more expensive for them to pay for those parts, even though it goes back.
And I noticed that they're not trying to blame Trump in their statement. They're not trying to blame that. They're saying that they're doing this for foreseeable for tariffs until things start to stabilize themselves. Mm-hmm. They're trying to make sure that they don't implicate Trump tariffs in this trade war as a reason to doing it. I find this, there's so many ways, because you do not have to reduce yours. I think they're doing this. They're taking, a lot of people are going to take advantage of what's going on. Mm-hmm. They probably already wanted to reduce their workforce, and they're using this as a reason, because the truth of the matter is tariffs are not, they may pay 20, if it's a 25% tariff, all they're going to do is pass that on to the vehicle that they're buying and pass it on to the client. So they're actually not going to lose any money. And so
unless the car's not selling, right? So
unless the car's not selling, but a thing, unless you, I just think that maybe there's something more sinister that's going on in the background, and they're using this as an opportunity to reduce staff. In any business model, all these business guys, they're always trying to reduce staffing and labor by 20%. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So if that's their goal and they don't want the negative press, then this is the smoothest way to do it.
Yeah, because it makes them look good, right? So for people who didn't take it, it's almost like, well, we warned you, right? We offered you some money, right? We in good faith. This is what we want to do for you. So,
but if you know that they're doing it, if you had been paying attention in the last couple of years in your company meetings, they do probably have town halls. You probably needed to draw back and remember what you heard. And there could be where they were like, we might have to make some tough decisions. And if you didn't remember these things, because the way it could play out is if you don't take the buyout, the whole goal was to reduce the staff by 20%, and those 20% people leave, then you actually, because you had staying power and you remember that they wanted to cut the staff anyway, I would wait and see if they meet that number. And they'd be like, all right, there's a hiring on freeze. Who we have right now is who we got. Mm-hmm. And you didn't take the buyout and they didn't fire you.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm still out the door, bro.
One of the things I remember
what I said, Larry, is listen, what I said is throwing $100 on a roulette table, right?
Yeah, but
red 37.
One thing I've learned, that when they start shrinking the force on the people like that, like, okay, now one person is going to be doing two people jobs. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, for the same pay.
Yeah, for the same pay.
Right.
Nah, bro.
The quality might not be there.
We already bitching about the job we got to do on ourselves.
My quality ain't going to be there. I can tell you that.
Right. KP, you said something so right when you talk about if they didn't pay attention down the line. I remember at a company I worked here, a major corporation brought in a person who used to work for a different bank, right? And I believe he was there to consult. And I remember him having a meeting, and he was like, yeah, you guys have a lot of people here. When I used to work, he specifically said, when I worked at Chase, they had all of these departments and they were able to do more with less.
Okay.
I was the only one who caught the. I'm like,
that's how I am. I'm always listening with the 30.
Yeah.
And I'm asking people, I'm like, did y'all hear that? They're like, what?
Exactly.
What? They brought this white man in to consult. I'm like, did you listen to what he just said? He said, we are overstaffed. And based on what we do as a company.
Yeah.
And he went in and reviewed everything Chase did and noticed that they were able to do our same exact thing.
Yeah.
With less people.
Yeah.
And
the following year, everybody in our whole office was laid off.
There it is. That's why you got to be listening. Listen, you got to be listening with the third ear. It recently happened at the place where I work, and they brought in consultants to, kind of, hey, they want to, shadow you and this and this and that. Because I listen with the third ear, I say, oh, they gonna find out what I do, and I talked, so they came in with the 34 points. They had 34 questions. They didn't even get to the 5th one because I talked so much about what I'm doing and how I'm instrumental to the team and the money I save. Look, you guys look at this score, and I'm shoving documents in their face. Look, I was able to call subordinates right here. This is 1.4 million. I ain't give them time to talk, and they finally was like, okay. All right, we got it. But I'm listening with a third ear. Y'all ain't gonna write me out of this book.
Yeah. I was the only one who caught it, and one of the only ones who they hired back on because they knew you work in risk liability. But I want to talk about the companies that are going to be affected by this is Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, Dodge, and Fiat brands.
Oh, because that's all Daimler Chrysler. That's one.
I thought Fiat was a part. No, that's Cooper. I was gonna say they were a part of BMW. No, that's Mini Cooper.
No, Fiat. They come under the umbrella of Daimler Chrysler, so that's who that is. Well, they're not doing very well. So listen, they're not doing very well.
I was about to say, are they profitable anyway?
Huh? Yeah,
they're profitable.
You know, Daimler Chrysler is they work with a major company out in Oregon. My friend has been there for about 25. That's where a lot of the trucks are made. Like, shipping of goods and services.
You think that they're profitable now, Renee?
I don't want to say that they're profitable. I think it's needed because a lot of the trucks on the road, you don't hear about somebody saying, oh, I have a 50-foot Honda.
No, they sell a good truck, and that's it. They sell a Dodge Ram, and then they brought back the Grand Cherokee, which is a Wagoneer, which is really nice. But that thing, $100,000, right?
Oh.
So I'm asking you, you think they're profitable when you look at the big 5 car manufacturers?
I wouldn't say that they're profitable. I'm not, I think Jeep and probably Dodge, the truck, maybe Ram or whatever probably is, but it's not enough to sustain, right? And that's the reason why they're saying so they're willing to risk. Well, they aren't really risking anything because, to be honest, they're still going to be, hit their bottom line. If a lot of people take out this buyout, right? Just remember, you make it $150,000 and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna take 75. Look how much money they saving towards the end of the year.
Yeah, they may be saving that money now, Renee, but I'm looking at the company as a whole and viability, right? And that company's viability, they may save it today, but they won't be able to save it tomorrow. They never got on. They have the Dodge Ram truck, which is good and it's big, and they got the Grand Wagoneer, which is priced to the moon. But other than that, they never got on board with the electric cars. They never produced a hybrid. What I'm saying is, I don't know. You'd have to look, but think about it. When the last time your friend girl, I got a hybrid Chrysler.
Also, I think what's taking into consideration is Dodge and the Chargers and the Challengers being stolen. It's just there's not a good There's not really anything.
What you got, Leon?
It says in 2024, Stellantis, the parent company of Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram, reported a 70% drop in net profit, with challenges particularly evident in the North American market.
Because they're not progressive in their development.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
And a lot of they're being sued. A lot of people are suing them because their Challengers are getting stolen. Their Hellcats,
very easy,
Hellcats, Lady Cats, and
Yeah, when you have a line of cars that I wouldn't buy one of them suckers. You know what I mean? And I know Larry would get one. Matter of fact, me and Larry will get one for our child because now he's in harm, not just of wrecking it, but somebody robbing him.
Yeah.
So the market on that is urban at best. You don't see white kids driving those Challengers and those Hellcats. They don't want
Jeeps though. I thought Jeeps were very popular. Like
they do. They have They have a Trackhawk.
Yeah, or the Jeep that people drive at the beach. Those, and they put the little ducks on them.
Yeah, that's they have that's it. They do have that, but it's not sustainable. Like I said, the viability of the company apparently is not sustainable with the business model that they chose to stay in. They stole to make those Scat Packs, those Trackhawks, and all those things to a market of people that don't work, and they end up, they crash.
Or also can't afford. Like, you really want to get a Trackhawk, and you work at the local Target,
right?
They be getting them. They get them.
They be getting them, but they also probably there's a whole bunch of repossessions too, right?
Oh yeah, ton of them.
Speaking of Target, your favorite store, Renee, are they going out of business?
Hell
Target
no.
will never go out of business. So this is gonna. I have a whole
Renee,
different.
I'm disappointed with you. I am disappointed in you. I don't want.
I'm not shopping there, but I have a whole conversation, KP, and I think you'll love it for our next show. We're going to talk about the Target boycott and some of the downstream effects of some of the Black businesses in Target. I think this will be a great conversation. Some of the Target workers that are Black, that this is affecting.
You hitting at my heartstrings. You hitting at my heartstrings.
So
you're right.
Someone brought up some great topics to me. And it's so crazy because he has a similar mind frame as you, KP, and he's
so he's brilliant. Okay, great.
So I think our next topic, Leon and Larry, and KP, I'm gonna throw this in the atmosphere, is the effects of the boycott on Target, Walmart, Amazon, and some of those other major big box block things. And I'll do our little write-up and send it over. But I think this is going to be a great conversation. We're going to talk supply chain.
Okay.
We're going to talk
the Black employees,
corporations, all the way down
to
making
sure they get
all the way down to USPS, UPS, FedEx, DHL. We're going to talk about all of those things.
Okay. Oh, I know some things about some people
on the next episode of the podcast. Hopefully you guys will all join here, because I think you'll love this conversation that I'm going to bring to the table.
I'm down.
And I'm still boycotting Target. And my best friend daughter still works there. We finding her a new job, though.
My daughter works at Target.
All these revelations are coming out.
Costco. I heard
Leon,
I heard the way to get into Costco is
she loves Target.
Open. You got to put open.
Open or what?
Y'all, you know what? Remember I told y'all about that coalition? I'm sorry, Renee. I didn't know you were talking something serious. I was just
no, it's okay.
I was going to draw back on Larry talking about us getting together, and I was talking about this coalition. Man, it's out of the four of us, 3 of us got Target ties.
Yeah.
Okay. But,
hey, there's a lot of Black people. It was a lot of Black people that work in Target. So
I know that. I know. That's why I said Renee was tugging in my circle back. That's why I said she was tugging in my heartstrings.
Yes,
right.
Target, our dollars, all of these things. On the next episode of MPL, I think this is going to be a great conversation on Target and Target and all of the major corporations and the boycott and the downstream effects on our Black children, Black people all together.
Well, I like that, but I don't know if you can include Amazon and Walmart in there because we're not actively targeting them at the moment. Like as a collective.
I am.
Well, I know I said as a collective. I don't think we're all.
I think some people are still on the. Oh yeah, I'm in all the Black women in luxury, Costco, Amazon. I'm in all the group chats. So you're in the 90. So you in the 92%. Y'all doing. I'm definitely 92%. Huh? Y'all not telling us nothing. Get your numbers up next election.
For me to know who to tell that I'm the father.
Everybody numbers are gonna be up next election. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah. You know what, Renee? That's a good flex. I'm in the 80%, and you're right. But I stand with you though. So can I be honorary 92?
Yeah, you can.
So speaking of the next election, man, I was asleep the other Saturday when I got off work. I heard a boom, 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 boom. Knock at my door. Man, these 2 ladies at my door talking about the next. Well, they was talking about the primaries, I guess.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. I'm looking at these ladies like, y'all just woke me up my sleep for this. So
just be ready for the text.
So I'm asking y'all the primaries. People saying go ahead and get ready for the primaries. Let's talk about that real quick. Just real quick.
Do your research, please.
Do your research. Know the candidate. And know the amendments and props that are going to be on it, because this is where they slip in a lot of those amendments and a lot of those propositions. This is where the sausage is made for you guys. I'm not a voter here for you here in North Carolina, but I aim to be by next election because I think that my vote is more impactful here than in Louisiana. I'm just throwing away over there because it is.
Oh yeah.
Them Negroes they got the Black people to do it, but they just won't.
Listen, I got family in Mississippi.
Again, they just won't. Yeah, they just like, oh, other than Jackson, is like, so I think my vote will be more impactful here, as this is a true swing state. But I do know that in the midterms, these elections that's coming up, I think y'all got a special election that's supposed to be happening too, if I'm not mistaken.
And I don't think our Supreme Court has been decided. I think she's.
No, that's why I said, because they're trying to. The supermajority, they don't like the supermajority that the Democrats have won. That's why there's something tricky that happened here. I'm not going to go in it, but I'm going to say it here. The election was stolen. That wasn't right. Trump said it, right? I don't believe that the results were the results. Elon in his Starlink, he knew the results before before the people knew the results. And Trump bragged about it. He's like, Elon, he went to Pennsylvania. He knows, let me tell you, he knows those voting machines, and
he knows them.
We got a secret. And should we, it's like, he's so stupid. He spilled it, but the media is not picking up on it. So I believe that something was happening, because how you're going to have, you had a record turnout for the Democrats on the bottom of the ticket, but it didn't match the same amount of people that voted for president. Those numbers were so far off, So you mean to tell me these people went there and voted for Trump, and then did not vote for Mark Robinson and everybody else down there? It was like, well, we're gonna vote all Democrat down ballot. Yeah. So something is not right, and so I just want to say that.
I agree with you. I would agree. I think this is a great conversation. I think it's a continued conversation that we're gonna continue to have, as every day something changes, something happens. We can talk on forever. We can talk about JD Vance and his audio. We can talk about the text messages that was linked, that was sent to one of the reporters at the Atlantis.
Right, of the attack in Yemen.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is great for continuing.
Well, that's what happens when you have a DEI hire by their definition. Yeah, by their definition, what a DEI hire is, what is Pete Hegseth? He's so
that drinks on camera. But again, that's a subject for
I'm sorry. You're trying to wrap it up. You're trying to get me out of here.
Well, no, I'm trying to save some for our next, our next show.
Yeah, we got
Well, y'all make between Renee and KP, y'all gonna have me ready for the midterm.
Yeah,
Larry gonna have you too.
Hey, I'm gonna keep pounding on him, man, every week. I'm gonna keep pounding on him.
Oh, the special elections is gonna be. Oh my God, we probably need to do something outside with people. Give the interview people on Impel Forward.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it for another episode of the Impel Forward podcast. Remember, seize the opportunity to grasp your dream.